Zoun, SpeCial, soO. 아프리카 TV 프리급 스튜디오 라이브 2020 GSL 시즌 2 코드 S The Coming Storm.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time for the next match in Group A, SpeCial versus soO. We did just see Zest trounce Zoun in what were, I think typical PvPs for the current meta.
Yeah, it was a pretty typical matchup, and Zest does come out on top. So now going into soO against SpeCial, they are, they're friends and both very strong players. I think SpeCial's just gonna do it.
You think he's just gonna do it, man?
He might just do it. What do you think, Tasteless?
I'm rooting for SpeCial personally, but let's see. SpeCial, he's always been good. The Koreans call him Kimwon out here because he's been out here in Korea for so long that he's Kim, like the last name Kim. In Korea, they put where we would put the last name, they put it in the front, family name. But he's been out here. He's respected by all the players, but SpeCial doesn't win tournaments or even get to the finals like soO does.
Yeah, definitely not as much.
Yeah.
He did make that one finals against SpeCial, which was nice and exciting, and he does pretty well in GSL.
He always does,
and he's like a top 8
he
guy
always does well. But that's what I'm getting at. He's always
the corner events.
He's always at this point, but I think he hasn't quite broken past that.
Yeah.
And when you compare him to somebody like soO, where his issue is he hasn't won multiple tournaments in a row. He just gets to the finals. I think this will be tough.
Well, he is a champion now as well, but I got to say, actually, I think SpeCial just started breaking through last year. Remember when he and TY were in the same group, and he brought his own builds and actually made it out, and TY did not? I feel like that was the turning point for him. He made it to the finals against SpeCial. He did that, and, I think he has the potential.
We're going to go to Ice and Chrome for map number 1.
Nice.
This is one of our...
Nice and Chrome.
No, Ice. Okay, this is game 1, SpeCial versus soO. Let's go.
경기가 준비되었다. 한번 시작해볼까? SpeCial, 후안 로페스. 아프리카 프렉스 수, 어윤수. Game paused.
Okay.
Hey, that was a different voice. That wasn't Kerrigan.
Yeah, Kerrigan. Stop switching voices.
All right.
It's Kerrigan's robot impression. What is the robot lady called?
The adjutant.
Adjutant. Okay, it looks like we are going to go back into this.
All right.
2, 1.
This is how you can tell, by the way, that
off.
someone, A, plays a lot of StarCraft, B, has lived in Korea a long time. When people ask if you want to go, you type R.
Yeah.
That's what I do on the ladder as well. It's the key that they use for Go, basically.
Yeah.
You don't type in the full Go.
Yeah. It's like when you type in K in English.
Yeah, it is like that. Yeah.
Can I do this? K.
4-6, not that bad actually for SpeCial, considering soO's stature, right? soO is never not a top 5 Zerg, right? Like that.
He's a complete beast.
Negative.
So we've got CC coming down now. soO is really a player that can do the whole range of Zerg play. He does have very strong late game. I think he's best in the mid game, but he really can do everything. But I feel like SpeCial a lot of times is like the Terran's Terran.
Yeah.
You know?
What do you mean by that?
He has a lot of solid not cheesy builds. Like we don't see Special, for instance, making 2 barracks out in the front of the map a lot of times.
Yeah, I guess he doesn't cheese all that much.
He tends to just sort of take another base, macro up, look for a push, or if he thinks it's not safe to push too early, he'll just bring it out. It reminds me a lot of these, you know, he is a Brood War Terran, but he reminds me a lot of these classically trained Brood War Terrans that did not want to do anything risky early on.
Well, that's actually why he's good too, is because back in Brood War, he actually just copied pros all the time, where a lot of other non-Koreans would just kind of play how they wanted to play. He was one of the guys who would just copy, right? And that kind of gave him a great foundation in fundamentals. I want to add in, he's also always on the cutting edge of the metagame. You know, obviously he's very close friends with TY, and for a long time was using a lot of TY builds. But he's kind of broken away from that. He has his own stuff now. He's always out there kind of testing timings and figuring out what he wants to do in a given matchup. So
yeah, one thing about SpeCial is historically he's been a student of StarCraft.
Yeah. Where
I think we have certain players who are, like you take SOS, which seems to be like on a, and I'm not saying that SOS is better than SpeCial, but for instance, SOS seems to be doing a lot of stuff that comes from within his knowledge of just RTS. He can kind of reach in there and pull out a lot of crazy things. SpeCial seems to be somebody who's practiced and studied other players and copied it to the point where he's as good or better than those players at what they had innovated on.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair assessment. He's always one of the better Terrans in the world.
I mean, I think now we're at a point in time where he's really at the very forefront of Terran. But I think his history, because he was so young when he started playing, he was looking to people ahead of him and instead working diligently to try to learn that. This is when he was much younger.
Well, he is a workhorse.
Yeah.
This guy, he plays a hell of a lot of games.
He grinds a lot.
Very few people put in the time he does. Well, right now, just poking and prodding a little bit here. See what he gets done. Actually finds a nice little in here.
Yeah, is this going to get that many drones?
Not too many.
Oh, wow, that was actually a pretty big failure.
A few lings, couple drones.
It was like one more Hellion pair shots away from getting a lot more workers, but soO with really good control, actually letting some of the units come through and then surrounding them on all sides with drones. You have a Liberator coming in here. Now, this is not the same area where the damage was dealt earlier on, and so this is going to be another failed attack here. It looks like the Liberator goes down, and this is a series of missteps here by SpeCial.
Yeah, he's making another Liberator now as well.
The ideas are here, the execution is not, which makes me a little bit worried here for SpeCial, because right now he's hemorrhaging units. The idea is that he's going to take this third, and that, you know, combos with the kills he's getting on workers, but he's only killed 2 so far, so his attacks have not paid for themselves at all. In fact, he's in a deficit.
Yeah, it definitely hasn't gone as he was kind of hoping for here. Now, this is actually going to be a mech play, which is kind of interesting, because soO opened with Overlord speed, yet doesn't know it's going to be a mech play. Because he hasn't done anything that's shown it yet. The only thing that we can see, obviously, is the additional factories and the armory coming up, and there's no mines or anything, so, like, obviously that armory, other than Hellbats, what are you going to use it for?
Yeah.
But soO, you can tell, especially that he doesn't know, because he's getting melee in Carapace, and this is generally not how you're going to end up playing against that, right? That's when someone's a little bit unaware, generally.
So in spite of all these great defensive measures that soO's taken, he's not necessarily navigating this game to the tech place it needs to be to address what SpeCial's going to be doing.
SpeCial might gain an advantage just via going mech this game and having soO kind of on the wrong unit composition, right?
Yeah.
You're on Ling Bane and they roll out with like Battle Mech or something.
Yeah,
it's not that you are automatically dead, but it's not what you wanted.
Well, it just seems like soO is neglecting to properly scout what SpeCial's doing. It seems like in some sense soO's kind of decided what SpeCial's going to do, and he's going to be fine against it. So yeah, I mean, maybe SpeCial's going to be fine anyways. I'd be curious to see when the first big engagement, the first confirmation of Battle Mech comes out here, how soO reacts.
Well, when you see this many Hellions after the amount of Hellions that you've already seen, I think it starts to make you think that this could be the case.
Yeah, usually 1 or 2 waves come in and then you stop, right? But I guess this time around, if he keeps thinking Hellions, you think, all right, where's your infantry? You know?
Yeah. It's like, well, Stim and +1 could be done by now,
yeah.
so...
I haven't seen a medevac this game yet.
Yeah. All right, well, does have that Liberator siege up, denying a lot of mining time in the main base. Definitely needs to send up another queen or two. Okay, there they are.
Okay, Liberator goes down.
Yeah.
No more queens lost there either.
You can see SpeCial, I think, is really trying to play to the patch with the amount of Liberators he's been making this game with that reduced queen anti-air range. Trying to utilize that, and that's the first time we've seen him really do a good job with it. All right, well, soO actually continues on this path. He's going for 2-2 with Zergling upgrades and getting a Spire. Okay, now he knows for sure that it's mech. Whether he had full confirmation or not earlier, see the Ro.24 come down. I want to see if he's going to maybe cancel one of these upgrades and start ranged attack, though.
Yeah, it's early enough. He could cancel it if he needs to.
Yeah, it wouldn't be
no
a
reason to let
giant
it.
deal.
You don't immediately start and say, "Wow, let's just let that whole thing finish." But so far, he's not. He's definitely had enough time to do this. Great counterattack here with these Lings on top of the depot, so there's no way to wall that off. Diving immediately towards these workers. SpeCial, though, with an also excellent pull from his own workers. Gets a lot of those out of there. Still 8 lost.
Seriously, he's keeping him back off of him and killing this many SCVs? This seems extremely worthwhile for soO.
Yeah, this is a great play by him. And again, it's not just that he's killing workers, it's that he's delaying the actual attack from coming out, which gives soO more time to prepare and get more units out here.
All right, the remaining Lings going to run out of here. Roach speed on the way, some Roaches being added into this composition as well. +1 air attacks on the way. It's going to be interesting to see what he does with that Spire. Do you think he's going to actually field some mutas?
I think he might. He invested so heavily into Ling early on here.
Yeah.
I think it's possible he might try to go for something like that. Get Ling muta
Yeah,
out
look
here.
at
There it is, 18. Yeah.
Well, you know, the thing is, Mech definitely has the anti-air to counter something like this, but he doesn't have it out right now. So these mutas, I think they're going to catch him really off guard.
Yeah, well, it seems like soO maybe went for the less ideal unit composition against Mech. It seems like maybe he didn't detect it early on. But then he's saying, all right, I think I'm comfortable enough. Oh, that's too bad. He's not going to get that. It seems like he's comfortable enough with the Ling muta. He says, I can actually bludgeon him with this anyways.
Well, you don't have a single Thor out right now. Cyclones are not really the answer. Obviously, mines can do well, especially when they're clumped. But when you don't really have any dedicated anti-air, and these mutas, 18 mutas flying, or at this point it's going to be like 23 mutas, and that's when you find out, yeah, see, his Thor's just started. This could be pretty scary.
Yeah, I think maybe SpeCial in a little bit of disbelief that his opponent would actually go for this.
Yeah, see, he's getting like a lock-on or two. Okay, you're going to kill a couple mutas, cool. But these mutas doing some heavy lifting here. Look at this, picking up a lot of
This is an insane number of tanks, which will actually give an opening here for ground armies to come in here later. And again, the mutas even adding insult to injury here, taking out these workers as well.
Yeah, there are going to be some Thors popping out pretty quickly here. Is actually, almost gets that Tech Lab, not quite.
Looks like that'll probably burn down anyways. Yes, it does.
Yeah, this is a huge amount of damage being done. But as those Thors pop out, the mutas definitely have to be much more careful. The thing is, they did so much already.
Yeah, these mutas have just done a drive-by through this base, taking out so many units here. And I worry now, even though SpeCial survives this attack, how he'll handle the follow-up, because soO has so much map dominance. You see he's trying to have his own counterplay here. It's not doing much of anything.
No.
And from here, again, with all those tanks picked off, I can only imagine a huge ground army can barrel through here and flatten the remaining Terran bases.
Yeah, I'm interested, right? Because he's got 30 mutas right now. Let's see if he makes any more. Because with the amount of Thors popping out, it feels like the Mutalisk tech route you're going to want to get out of, but he is getting +2 attack.
He is getting Roaches here. Yeah, we do have.
And he already picked off a lot of tanks, right? So the Roaches versus Thors, that could be a very good matchup for him.
You know, it's funny. Sometimes you can get such a lead that you can just snowball it even with units that don't seem to make sense. That's a funny thing that can happen in StarCraft. I thought maybe he might try to do that here, but yeah, with those Roaches coming out, looks like he wants to just continue to push forward here. Nice hit with that mine.
Yeah, that was some targeting going on from SpeCial right there.
When you have clumped up air units like this, if you miss control, you can lose all of them, or almost all of them, pretty quickly. So you got to be careful. Ravagers now coming into play. We do have 3 tanks over there at the third base.
Some well-placed mines there, getting some good hits off. SpeCial He's still doing all right, right? He's on 4 bases right now.
Okay, the Ravagers should be able to pick off the tanks with ease. The Mutas will then merge in with the rest of this army. Oh, he did not get that one tank right away.
Yeah, the Mutas are actually fighting a couple Thors right there. I do end up taking him out, but I think his Mutalisk flock is definitely getting lighter.
Yeah, we're seeing some of the shortcomings of this type of play against mech in the long run. So eventually you can get something to address this, but right now, soO does still have SpeCial basically pinned to his corner of the map. soO's continuing to grow and develop. Over here, he's now taking the 12 o'clock spot.
There's a lot of Banes being made, Lings and Roaches and Ravagers all being sent down. You know, the one thing I'm a little bit worried about with SpeCial is he never really started upgrades after his 2-1.
Right.
Maybe because of all the damage he's been taking, he's just trying to make sure he's fine. But, I mean, you know, imagine 3-2 Thors against these Mutas as opposed to 2-1.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, the difference is there. Upgrades are good.
Okay, coming forward now. So much damage being dealt upon this very small area where all these mech units are concentrated, making corrosive biles just devastating. The Mutas have been cleaned up, but so is the Terran ground army. A few more Ravagers still able to do this damage. Anything that's a static defense like a Liberator or a tank, when it's sieged up, is easily dismantled by those Ravagers. Seems like soO wants to go back, wash his hands, and then attack in once more.
You know, it's funny. He's like playing with Mutas and Lings and Banes and Roaches and Ravagers, but it feels like he's just playing Ling Bane because I feel like every time he attacks, he walks away with like 2 units.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
he's having to remake his army every single time.
He's running everything into that and backing off.
All right, finally starting to getting that halfway through the +1 range attack here for soO. Going into Greater Spire as well. He has picked off quite a few Thors, and as the Mutalisk clump dies down and he picks off Thors, you're less likely to make them, right? When you're kind of like, okay, there's not air units, so maybe that is going to open up an opportunity to utilize some Broodlords.
We have the beginnings of Terran trying to push out and expand. For most of this game, it's been SpeCial defending on 4 bases. Well, I said he was going to push out and expand, but now I can see the 5th here is going to have to wait till later on in this game. SpeCial's been landing mules and mining up his side of the map for a long time, but a 5th base is going to be necessary if we're going to see SpeCial drag this out into one where he eventually counter pushes and wins. Because right now he's just doing harass attacks like this one here, like Hellions coming out to try to target drones. We don't have a push yet from Terran.
Yeah, you're quite right about that, but he is very close to max, and I think he realizes now that Broodlords are going to be on the way. So he's going to have to decide what he wants to do pretty quickly. You don't want to sit in a defending stance against these Broodlords.
No. Right now, soO is eyeing the bottom expansion again here. Anything he can do to come in here, he might want to try aiming some Ravager Biles on that. It doesn't seem like... Oh, is he not going to? That seems like an overextension.
All right, pushes him back for now. SpeCial really gung-ho on getting that 5th base finally up and mining. The Hellions that were harassing, turning into Hellbats, come up, tank a little bit more, deal a little bit more damage as well.
And I think that 5th is finally going to be taken and secured. You see the Hellbats slowly walking over here. But with the Broodlords coming out, this is a whole next level here for Zerg. The Broodlords are very hard for Terran to ever directly address, but when Zerg invest heavily into Broodlords, they also are giving up a lot of the mobility that Zerg generally have, you know, especially a Zerg with creep all over the map that generally have in a game like this. He's going to go for a push, though, and he pushes through the bottom here where the 5th is.
Oh my
now,
God.
is there any anti-air at all?
No, he morphed everything. So these few Vikings are actually going to do some real work upon these Broodlords.
A rare moment we see Corrosive Bile actually
hitting units that aren't siege.
hit a mobile target there.
Yeah. Well, he's going to be able to kill all those off.
It does seem like soO, in this moment, has really squandered his position by not respecting the tech options that SpeCial had this game. Now there's one. Okay, there's enough Corruptors out here, but it looks like we're going to have a reset where the Corruptors chase us away and then go for Broodlords again. But soO, I think, you know, taking the tempo lead that he had and kind of throwing it throwing it out.
He had the tempo advantage. You're
Yeah.
definitely right about that, but it feels like Special has defended everything well enough.
Mm-hmm.
He had enough units. He continued to keep his SCV count very, very high during all of that as well. And then those Broodlords, that was a gigantic waste. They didn't do anything. Well, he is remaking them. He has Corruptors now this time as well. But with the amount of Thors and Vikings still out, the fact that he's adding Ghosts, are these going to be the answer?
We'll see. The first push here from Terran is coming out. Everything was harassed up until this moment. We have a small number of spines here to try to hold the line, but now is the moment where, you know, for all the damage that soO's done, it seems like SpeCial has stabilized, the patience has paid off, and now the Broodlords are going to have to be used to defend. And a lot of times when you see Broodlords having to defend versus push, it means there's a real opportunity for the Terran to try to come back. Because Broodlords, once they get there, you can always just run away if you don't feel like you're strong enough. You can almost always avoid a Broodlord fight if you have enough freedom of mobility on the map.
Well, he's coming in with everything. He has a couple Vipers in here at almost full energy as well, so that's definitely going to be helpful. Of course, you got to watch out for those Thors. So strong nowadays.
Oh my God, great blinding clouds. And it seems like the army is now sandwiched over here between the Broodlords and the Ravagers over here at the bottom, but the firepower here from the Terran army means it doesn't matter so much as what the position is. The muscle here from Terran is more than enough to handle this. This also means that SpeCial takes the upper left corner.
I think we might have just seen the world's first planetary flank. Did that planetary finish during the battle?
Oh, it might have. I didn't notice that.
Because that's like funny, right? You're fighting next to it against the army, and then it finishes, and it starts adding its damage. But nice defense there from SpeCial. soO now dropping off a little bit as far as supply goes. His bank is really not all that large, and I feel like he hasn't even completely decided what he wants to do with this late game. He's switching up his unit sets quite a bit, which sometimes is actually a very good play against Terran. You know, Terran wants very specific units generally to counter what you're doing. So, I mean, mixing it up, getting a bunch of Banelings mixed in there as well. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do this, though.
Yeah, another attack comes in here. These Banelings doing a lot of damage, but I mean, there's just too much. There's just too much here for Terran. You break off a chunk, but the siege damage is so much that as the Zerg retreats, there's barely anything left. Now, we already saw Terran flatten the top half of the map. Now SpeCial's agenda is to take out the bottom right. If he takes that out, Zerg is going to be squeezed pretty heavily here. And there's not that much you can do.
No, he definitely needs to keep that up and running. You can see his gas bank pretty reasonable, but minerals very, very low for soO. Of course, at 84 workers, he's mining really nicely. Yeah, I mean, he's trying to take another base and all. I feel like the way SpeCial's playing this, it's a very efficient way to play with those ghosts mixed in.
Yeah.
And he's been so patient throughout the game.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if there's one thing SpeCial is, it's tenacious. There's a huge push coming here on the left. Now, this is where Terran, you know, the mech army, it's not fast, right? So it's hard to get repositioned quickly enough. Oh my God, those are the greatest blinding clouds.
Yeah, those were nice.
Ever. Literally every tank unable to fire in that period of time, which makes for an insane trade. This allows the Banelings to come in and connect on top of the Ghosts. Critical tech has been eliminated right now for SpeCial. He can remake it.
Wow, they kind of trade armies off right there. Not a lot of economy killed from Terran, although we did have a hatchery killed on soO's side.
GG.
Yeah.
SpeCial takes it. What a game, by the way.
Yeah, I think a big problem here was soO was so cost inefficient for so long in this game. Even though he had a great economy going on, like a lot of wasted Broodlords, he was doing a lot of attacks with mass Banelings that weren't really cleaning up what they needed to. I mean, the Baneling is even worse against mech units nowadays, the non-light ones at least. So, kind of a tough one there. SpeCial playing a very strong game though.
Look, man, SpeCial, he had a bumpy start with some of those initial harasses. A lot of times, when those attacks don't go well, it leads into the Terran losing, right? We can always point back and say, well, your drops didn't work, your Hellions didn't kill enough drones. You lost Liberators and they didn't kill any Queens or Workers, but SpeCial just stayed back, endured the attack after attack when soO had that lead. Eventually, he had a more sophisticated army. Also, critical moment, soO teching into Broodlords and not willing to respect Viking play. Anyways, we're going to go to map number 2 on Submarine. SpeCial vs soO continues on.
경기가 준비되었다. 한번 시작해 볼까? 스페셜 후안 로페스. 아프리카 프릭스 수 어윤수.
By the way, a freak of freaks at this point. What a badass team.
Yeah, no kidding.
They have just a ridiculous roster. So, SpeCial looked good there. He looked good. And the thing is, I think soO in many ways did look good, but maybe wasn't dealing with the mech army in the more conventional ways that we're used to, right? There's a lot of ways that you can try to fight against mech, but he was getting the melee upgrade. I think he actually didn't know it was mech for quite some time. I think
Seemed like it.
I actually think it took him, like, the thing is, you can go bio and make Hellions for a very long time.
Right.
We see that occasionally. You can make the Liberators, right? You're getting your upgrades. You're powering upgrades kind of while harassing with tech-based units and then switching it up into the more bio-centric play. But I really don't think he knew until the Cyclones were out with the battle mech composition, right? Where you're kind of roaming around with Hellion Cyclone. And when that happens and you're on the wrong upgrades and you're on the wrong buildings, it's not like you can just be like, all right, I'm going to make Swarm Host now or something, all right? Or you're not going to have the maxed out Roach Hydra Viper timing attack or something like that. That's, something that we've seen a lot in the past. So, yeah, I think that game wasn't necessarily representative of what this series will look like, even though it was a good game.
I think the biggest takeaway, at least for me when I watched that series, was seeing that SpeCial can just stay in the game. He's one of these players, and it's hard to do in StarCraft 2, by the way. When you get behind to a certain amount, it's really hard to recover against somebody who's really good because they're just so fast and they're able to execute so many things at once that there's not a lot of room to just bounce back. But SpeCial's one of those players. And I think soO, I think you're right in the sense that he was playing against a tech he was probably a little bit surprised by, but thought, well, I've held off all his harass. Everything's fine. I can make this work. Let's go into mutas. And his attacks did work. SpeCial was on
the mutas did well.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a lot of mutas, but I think they did enough that it wasn't a waste, Yeah, he ended up losing 30 mutas, but it did a lot.
It absolutely worked. And, it was impressive by him, but then he didn't seem to set up any finishing blows. I mean, the Broodlord tech, we see Broodlords as very strong, and I think a lot of people can look at them and think, wow, how do you fight that? But then when you look at the size of some of these maps, you got to say, okay, but, can you handle the positional play? And in this case, he got the Broodlords out and just didn't appreciate that the Vikings were going to be there. I mean, that was probably the biggest moment of the whole game. Where
I don't think it's like he hadn't seen any Vikings.
Well, he knows that there's starports. I mean, there's never not starports, right? And I mean,
and he has some Thors. Like, it's not like he's just going to insta-die to them.
Yeah. So that was so crazy.
Oh, that was sick.
He just Harlem Globetrotted his way.
That was a Beyond move right there.
That was so sick.
Yeah, some good building placements, but with 4 Hellions in here, a lot of drones are going to end up falling. 7 drones going down so far. I think that soO has done his best managing this and loses only 8. It could have been a lot more. That could have been 14 drones.
I think we just give him the 14 drones because of how the Hellions got in there.
Oh, yeah.
I think we officially just changed history there.
Well, morally, he got 14 drones.
Yeah, morally, he got 20,
Okay, so this is actually a BC opener into bio play. BCs are definitely something that SpeCial is very, very good with in this matchup. We'll see if he wants to do the 1 or the 3 BCs style. But after getting in there and already killing a good 8 drones, I think this BC is going to be very painful for soO.
Oh, Artosis! All right, I'm gonna break the fourth wall here.
I need this tasteless.
We have
There we
hot
go.
sixes stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, and I knew I could get one out of the middle, and I did it.
Which is stacked
And
on
it's
top
done.
of
It is done.
We have that stacked on a headset model, which is stacked on top of more hot sixes, which then is where you see the 3 hot 6 cans that show up on camera. Artosis was trying to get the hot 6 on the bottom out.
The very bottom.
The very
one.
bottom.
I'm like a Jenga gambler, basically.
Yeah,
I'm like, no, tasteless. This one can come out without killing the whole structure.
That was a Jenga gamble is what you just did right there.
That was.
So here come the battle cruisers. Now this setup is pretty sick, man. Already 8 workers have been killed.
Wow, that is so good. All right, well, kind of a big deal right there. He's killed a lot of workers so far in this game. That BC's still at half health.
Get back here. Now, SpeCial, so far, unlike the last game, everything is basically worked out. He got the, 8 kills plus the moral victory, which makes it 14.
Yeah.
Then the 9 kills
So
on the
he's
workers.
killed like 17 drones, plus like 6 phantom drones.
Yes.
Like 6 deserved drones.
Drone morale is low.
Yeah. Drone count is low as well.
Yeah.
Well, not that
Which means
low,
they only
since-
mine 3 minerals? It's crazy. But I'll tell you, if SpeCial played that well in Game 1, which was a game full of missteps, and in Game 2, everything he's tried has basically worked out, I think this is going to be pretty hard for soO to handle. Now, that being said, I think soO's early game and mid game is much better than the super late game from him. Although he can do super late game very strong, I think that we can all agree that when we think of SpeCial, we think a lot about, skirmishes right in the middle of the map, holding pushes, all that jazz.
Oh, look at this. He's picking off this. Oh, the high energy queen actually does get saved. A lot of queens coming over. But in the meantime, SpeCial clearing quite a bit of creep. And I guess he's just going to fly out of here with his big BC.
So annoying for the Zerg.
Yeah.
And the value, guys, there's almost nothing that gets value like this in the game. If that unit's not killed, you can send it back and just repair it and then move it through the map again. And this has just been one BC play, by the way. We've seen games where players keep making BCs. We've seen games where players make 3. We've seen games where they make 1. So a lot of different styles. Now here comes the push. This push is set up to do a devastating amount of damage, maybe even win the game if controlled correctly.
Yeah, these queens actually coming out to fight, but what else is there? Here come the Lings, but a huge amount of Marines here to kind of protect the tanks. The Lings starting to overpower, though.
Well, the tanks are taken out, but there's no more Lings here, and Marines can be, in a perfect world, out-microed against Banes if the splitting's good enough.
Yeah, the Baneling speed is not done as of yet.
Oh! Will it ever be done, Artosis?
It
will
may never be
not!
done. Oh my God, more Marines coming up. SpeCial might be able to actually end this.
SpeCial pushing through here right now. The Zerg is hanging on by a thread. The last Baneling in this game detonates, and now it's just Lings with speed. Aspire close to finishing. A lot of gas in the bank, but is the third going to stay alive? Great pickup on the tank. He's going for the heart. He doesn't want to take out expansions. He wants to go right in here, take out the upgrades, get in the middle of the rally points. Battlecruiser warps in over here.
Oh, look at that. SpeCial bringing his entire army to bear right now. The BC going to make it out again, adding insult to injury.
Right now, the Overlords are being massacred. GG, SpeCial takes it.
Wow.
Juanito.
Well, I tell you what, that was a strong series from SpeCial.
Get your shoes on, Juanito. You're walking to the winner's match.
Well, you actually can just sit there. That was good, man. That was strong play. Well done. And now he goes up against Zest next to see who wins the group.
Take a look at soO.
Well, he doesn't seem too happy.
No.
What if he has to go to military before next season? And that was his last game against Terran.
Yeah. That would suck.
Hey, Tasteless, you want to be sad?
Yeah, you want to feel really bad.
Do you want to feel bad, Tasteless?
What if an asteroid hits the studio and that's the last GSL match of your cast? That'd be
what
pretty
if humans
bad, right?
just don't exist anymore?
Yeah.
The ones on the space station are going to live just a little longer.
What if we wake up one day and we don't all have thumbs? then we can't do a lot of the stuff we want to do.
Yeah. We're going to see even more hidden buildings on the map.
We'll see an only PvP GSL. Okay, so SpeCial goes on. He'll be going up against Zest. That should be a great match. I don't think the PvP we saw earlier today is going to be any representation of how Zest will play against SpeCial, but I do think SpeCial's TVZ showed that he is solid, and even when he doesn't play well early on, he can still get to a victory in the late game. So this should be a close match.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it can go any which way. I'm feeling a little bit nervous for Zoun, though. Zoun going up against soO, that seems like an impossible journey.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. We have a short break. When we come back, our third best of 3. Don't go away.
어이가 없구나.
Music is my suicide.